Oh, no, you know what Don does? I'm sorry. He does not. He moved down to Don.
He had it last night. Don wasn't here.
I didn't talk to him during the day at all today.
I didn't
Yeah.
think I usually do.
Well, there's something important, I had to stop for a minute, but not for 2 hours. Just a couple minutes. I'll be back. Depending on how long it takes.
This is the Joliet City Council meeting for August 1st, 2017, with Mayor Odekirk presiding. The invocation will be given by Deacon Carl Hebner with Holy Family Catholic Church, 600 Brook Forest, after which he will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
In this past Sunday's scripture readings were from the first book of Kings, and the scripture reading from the Old Testament in the Bible. King Solomon requests the grace of wisdom from God as he prays, and I quote from the Bible, "Lord, give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people and to distinguish right from wrong as I govern your people." And therefore, let us pray. Lord, thank you for this Joliet City Council meeting, the freedom to have such meetings. Thank you for the members of this council who have stepped forward to lead our city government. Bless them, Lord, with wise decisions that are fair and just for all citizens of Joliet. Bless all of our city workers, especially the firefighters, police officers. Keep them safe as they do their best to keep us safe. And Lord, we would like to make a special mention for firefighter Sean Carroll, who passed away this past Friday. Please remember him, and the rest of us, please remember him and his family in our prayers. And at this time, let us have a moment of silence in his memory. And we continue, Lord, to pray. Bless all of our country's military personnel. May they safely return home to their families. Lord, bless all of the citizens of our city, our state, our country. May we live in peace and harmony. And God, bless America. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thanks for sweating it all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deacon. I appreciate it.
We're here at the same time as Trisnet.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Odekirk.
Here.
Councilman Dickinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here?
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
First on the agenda under Mayor is a proclamation honoring Joliet Central High School Student Center Edition for winning the 2017 CBC Merit Award. You can go up and approach the podium.
You guys all set? This proclamation goes out to the JTHS District 204. It's a proclamation that reads, whereas the Joliet Central High School Student Center Edition won the 2017 Chicago Building Congress Award in the category of New Construction Suburbs on May 23rd, 2017. And whereas the Chicago Building Congress Merit Awards celebrates the collaborative effort required by the building process and the impact of that effort upon the community at large. And whereas judging is based upon the distinctiveness of design, quality of construction, impact upon the community, and the project safety record. And whereas Assistant Superintendent Dr. Alandis Hampton, members of the White and Company and Gilbane teams presented the project to the jury, who then had the difficult decision-making process of selecting a single recipient for each merit award category. And whereas, since the existing building is on the National Register of Historic Places, connecting to it posed a unique challenge. The team had to be sensitive to the existing building's character and historical significance, while physically connecting it to a new building. And whereas, built in 1901, Joliet Central High School is a beloved historical landmark in the heart of downtown Joliet. The 4-story limestone structure, built in collegial Gothic style, serves as a beacon of light for Joliet's urban community. Now, therefore, I, Robert Odekirk, Mayor of the City of Joliet, Illinois, on behalf of the Joliet City Council, do hereby congratulate Joliet Central High School on receiving this prestigious Chicago Building Congress Award, and to all who contributed to the project, ensuring that the historical integrity of the school was maintained. Signed, Mayor Robert Odekirk, August 1st, 2017.
Mayor Odekirk, City Council, thank you very much for this recognition. I'd like to bring this up to you and pass it around, and we hope for continued success for our school district and for the entirety of the Joliet area. Thank you.
Great job.
Nice job.
Looks heavy. Is it heavy?
I thought you were pulling your speech up.
Wow. Wow. That's a part of the building?
Thank you very much.
It's heavy. Oh, wow, that is beautiful.
Nice job, John.
You dropped it, Mayor.
I know. Don't drop it, Mayor. Don't drop
Yes.
it.
While you're passing that around, if I can indulge the council for
Sure.
a second.
Thanks, Jeff.
We just came back from Washington DC, and although our facilities are so very important, so are our academics. And we were in Washington DC to receive the District of the Year College Board Advanced Placement. We were the small school district. They represented a large school district, a medium, and a small. And we were allowed to have one of our students speak at the entire national conference. And we have this award too, so we wanted to just share it with you because this just shows the great works that the students in our community can do. And so we're awfully proud of our residents, our students, and what this city is doing for each one of our students. So thank you.
No, thank you. Great job.
Nice paperweight.
Next, we have a proclamation honoring Captain John Merriman and apparatus operator Brian Bowdeck for winning Firefighter of the Year by the State of Illinois Veterans of Foreign Wars.
We've got a proclamation here from the Mayor and City Council honoring the bravery of a couple of our firefighters, actually Captain John Merriman and AOP Brian Bodak. So I'll read the proclamation. Whereas on the afternoon of December 12, 2016, the Joliet Fire Department Station 5 received a call for a structural fire located at 719 Plainfield Road. Captain John Merriman and AOP Brian Bodak immediately responded to the call, even though they were short 3 crew members. Whereas on the scene, Captain Merriman and AOP Bodak were alerted that one resident went back into the burning 2-story building and never returned. Without hesitation, both Captain Merriman and AOP Bodak unselfishly put their lives in danger to search for this individual trapped inside the 2-story structure. Whereas both men located 3 individuals on the stairwell landing and were told of a fourth individual trapped in an apartment. AOP Brian Bodak bravely assisted the 3 individuals out of the burning building, while Captain John Merriman continued searching for the fourth individual inside the apartment. With quick action, Captain Merriman and AOP Bodak used the Bullard thermal imaging to scan the apartment while smoke filled the room from floor to ceiling. The firemen were able to detect the individual's hand reaching for a window by using the scanner, and both men assisted with the removal of the occupant. Whereas on March 9th, 2017, the VFW Cantigny Post number 367 presented Captain John Merriman and AOP Brian Bodak with the VFW Firefighter of the Year award, and both men were inducted into the Bullard's Save a Life Club on June 29th, 2017. Now therefore, I, Robert Odekirk, Mayor of the City of Joliet, on behalf of the Joliet City Council, do hereby recognize the heroic actions of Captain John Merriman and AOP Brian Bodak and congratulate them on a job well done.
Good evening. I'm Jim Clausen. I'm the Adjutant Quartermaster of Cantigny Post 367 here in Joliet. As you know, they were AOP Bodak and Captain Merriman selected by us, the Cantigny Post, as Firefighter of the Year. And also at our state convention held in Springfield, they were also selected as the Firefighter of the Year by the state of Illinois. Now, they weren't able to attend our state convention because they were busy doing their jobs protecting the people of Joliet. So I'd like to take the opportunity tonight to present them with their awards. And they read State of Illinois, Veterans of Foreign Wars, 2016-2017 Veterans United. Firefighter of the Year presented to Captain John Merriman, Joliet Fire Department, and AOP Brian Bodak, Joliet Fire Department. Signed by Terry W. Vance, State Adjutant Quartermaster, and W. Dave Stout, State Commander.
Mayor, City Council members, first of all, I'd like to thank the VFW and every single veteran that has served to give us the freedom we have today. I am extremely humbled by this award. We received it a couple months ago. If it wasn't for the teamwork of everybody here in the city, we wouldn't be here today. I mean, in taking this award today, it's a little special. Sean Carroll and I came on together 17 years ago. Went to the academy. A good friend of mine, we were also stationed together at Station 1. This award I'm going to 100% dedicate to him. He fought. He fought a long, hard battle with cancer, and it's a tough one. 4 years. He actually came back to light duty last Tuesday for about 10 more hours to be with the men, and on Saturday afternoon, the battle was lost. So I just want to dedicate this to him. So thank you guys. Thank you very much. VFW, again, thank you very much.
Mayor and Council, I just want to thank the VFW on behalf of Captain Merriman. He's not able to be here tonight. He's on vacation. And I want to express our gratitude from the Joliet Fire Department, Joliet Police Department, Will County Sheriff's Office. The VFW honors all 3 of our organizations every year. In February, they do a fantastic job. And I want to thank the members of the VFW for doing that. It means a lot to our organizations. And I want to echo AOP Bodak's comments on the teamwork that it takes to do our job and do our job right. And things went well that day, and we were able to rescue those individuals. And that means a lot to us, and it also says a lot for the character of those 2 gentlemen, Captain Merriman and Apparatus Operator Bodak. And also, again, Sean Carroll, if we could keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Just one quick note. I'd also like to mention that our Law Enforcement Officer of the Year Detective Brad McKeon, or McEwen, I should say, Brad McEwen was also selected Law Enforcement Officer of the Year by the VFW State of Illinois. And he was able to receive his award at our state convention.
Thank you.
Next is Mayor Odekirk appointments. None this evening. Next is a presentation on the comprehensive annual financial report. Dave Meyer with Wormer Rogers, Duran and Ruzon is here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Here to present the comprehensive annual financial report for the year ended December 31st, 2016. And I believe you have copies of that document in front of you. And I'm going to go through all 155 pages. We'll probably be here for about the next 6.5 hours, but just kidding, of course. You can see that the comprehensive annual financial report is separated into 3 sections. There's an introductory section, which has the table of contents in it. And the table of contents will help you get through the report. You can easily find any schedule you're looking for. And I'll point out a couple of highlights, and I'll answer any questions that you may have. One of the areas that I do like to point out is the page just before where the financial tab starts. It's actually Roman numeral 11, and when you get to that page, you'll see it's called the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. And that so it's the page just before the financial tab, and that Certificate of Achievement was for last year's comprehensive annual financial report, the 2015 report, and so you were awarded this award by the Government Finance Officers Association, and only a small percentage of governments get this award. This means that you are presenting all the information required by generally accepted accounting principles, and this is an outstanding achievement for the city. I'm going to move to the financial statement, financial section next, and on pages 1 through 3, you'll see the independent auditor's report. And without reading that whole thing, what the summary of this independent auditor's report is that we came out to test transactions. We don't look at every single transaction, but we do testing based on generally accepted auditing standards. And we found that the records of the city and that this report are fairly stated in all material respects. So we're giving what's called a clean opinion on the audit report. And in doing this audit work, we have to gather evidence. And this is where I like to commend the city. Mr. Gadati and his staff are responsible for providing us with all the information we needed during the audit, and they did a great job. Every question we asked, they were able to provide us with evidence that we are looking for. There's hundreds of schedules and reconciliations and inquiries and documents, et cetera, that we need to go through, and they were able to provide us with everything we needed. So they did a fabulous job of keeping the audit going and getting us the things we needed. After the independent auditor's report, there's a section called Management's Discussion and Analysis. If you don't want to spend time looking through the whole comprehensive annual financial report, this is a good place to focus. There's information relating to the most recent year and then the prior year. And there's comparisons to be made, so it's a lot easier to read than the whole book. So that's a good place if you want to focus there. I'm going to skip ahead now to a couple of select pages where I want to point out a couple things. And the next stop I'm going to make is on page 22. And page 22 shows a statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances for the governmental funds. And you'll see the first column of numbers there is what's called the general fund, so that's your main operating fund. And you can see for the year ended December 31st, 2016, total revenue was just over $168 million. Total expenditures were just a shade below 165 million. So you had a gain for the year in revenues versus expenditures. And then when you go down to a line where it says net change in fund balance, you had a $2 million deficit, and you could see that there's a line called transfers out just above that net change in fund balance. That's the money you moved out to your capital projects fund to do needed infrastructure work in the city. So you showed basically a profit, and then you transferred that money to the capital projects fund, and you ended the year with 54.6 million in fund balance. And if we look at that fund balance as compared to our expenditures for the year, you're carrying about 4 months worth of fund balance at the end of the year, which is a nice sweet spot, if you will. You want to be in that 3 to 6 month range of fund balance versus expenditures. And you're right in there at 4 months. I'm going to flip to the next page, page 24 and 25. You see your water fund. And the water fund is in a similar situation. And I'm going to point out the current assets of the water and sewer fund. Current assets only, not the total assets, on page 24. You have just under 29 million. And then the current liabilities on the opposite page, on page 25, 15.6 million. So you have what's called working capital. Your current assets minus your current liabilities is called working capital. You got about 13 million of working capital, which, again, if you compare that to the expenses of the water fund, is about 4 months worth of working capital to operate the water fund under. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to page 30. And page 30 is your pension trust funds. This is the police and firefighters pension funds added together. And you can see their balance at the end of the year was 323 million. So they've got 323 million of investments to help provide pensions for the firefighters and the police officers. That's obviously all restricted money. That's not your, city money to be spent, but that's all being held for the benefit of the firefighters and police officers. After that page, I'm not going to stop on each of these pages, but pages 35 through 79, that's the notes to the financial statements. If you've been studying the notes from the prior year, you'll see there's one new note in here. This year on page 46. Page 46 has a note about tax abatements. And this was a new requirement. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board came out with a new statement, and they said you have to disclose information about tax abatements, and so the city made that disclosure in this year's comprehensive annual financial report, beginning there on page 46. I'm going to jump ahead now to page 90 and 91, and this is what's called required supplementary information, and this is the city's general fund. And this time, though, we have the budget, the original budget, the final budget, and then what actually happened. So this is page 90 and 91. And if we focus specifically on page 91, and I'm going to look at almost the very bottom there, again, the net change in fund balance. The original budget, you budgeted to have a deficit of about 6.8 million. Then the final budget, you budgeted to have a deficit of 5.8 million. And then the actual deficit came in at just under 2 million. So you did 3.8 million better than the budget. So you were able to control some costs. Revenues came in a little better than expected, and so you ended up better than where you had budgeted to be. Again, that's at the bottom of page 91, the net change in fund balance, and you can kind of see the budgets versus what actually ended up happening there. Fast forwarding a little bit, I'm going to jump back to the statistical section now, and this is where you kind of see some information. There's tables that include 10 years of data, and one of the ones I'll stop at is actually on page 134 and 135. So when you get to page 134 and 135, you can see the changes in fund balances of the governmental funds for the last 10 years. And you can kind of see some trends form and whatnot. This most recent year, almost 185 million in revenues. Expenditures were 189, and so you had a deficit of 4 million. Some of that was money spent on capital projects. And down near the bottom, I like to point out your debt service as a percentage of non-capital expenditures. So this is what we're spending on debt service. You're only at 1%, and you can see you've been right around 1%. This is the second line from the bottom there. That's far better than a lot of communities where you're only spending 1% of your money on interest and principal on debt. So it's very commendable to have such a low level of debt for a city. A couple more items I want to point out. On the next page, 136, this is the gaming tax, and you can see that through the last 10 years, the gaming tax obviously has been decreasing, and every single year since 2007, back in 2007, there were $36 million of gaming taxes, and we're down to almost half of that now. The most recent year, we were at 18.4 million. And the last page I'm going to stop at, actually just turn the page one more time, page 138 and 139, and this shows the equalized assessed valuation and the estimated actual valuation. And if you look at that page 139, right in the middle there, there's a total equalized assessed valuation for both counties, so it includes Will County and Kendall County. And you could see there was actually a rise in the equalized assessed valuation in 2016 versus 2015. So that's the first time since 2009 that there was actually an increase in the assessed value of the property of the city. So that shows that there's some recovery, if you will, in the economy towards valuation of property. I know there's a lot of information here, a lot of reports issued. All the reports were filed on time. And we actually did another report on the federal spending of the city. And we test specific grants. And that's another report available that's called the single audit report. And I'd like to point out that there were no audit findings in the single audit report. So that's commendable as well, that there were no findings whatsoever in the single audit report of the city. I know there's a lot of information here, a lot of numbers. Any questions at this point about any of the pages that you see here?
Questions?
Just a comment. I think we have some encouraging news here, for the city. Looks like as far as our operations, we had about a $3.2 million increase, revenues over expenditures. We spent about $7.4 million on capital, which is always a good thing. I think our EAV is going up, so I think there's a lot of positives going on here, specifically in the corporate fund. Our debt structure is low, and I think it's a good sign that the city's on the uptick. And want to thank Jim Gadati for his efforts and yourself as well, Dave Warmer Rogers. So, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And we're getting stressed with the EAV going up. What that means in layman's terms is if you own property in Joliet, your property is increasing in value. Mm-hmm. And that hasn't happened in general since 2009. So it's a great sign for our city. Thank you.
Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written with the following changes? Remove Council Memo 411-17, which is the zoning ordinance amending Article 5, Section 47-5.3, adding inflatable bounce houses as prohibited recreational structures and playground equipment in a required front yard. And vote on Council Memo 423-17, request for authorization to award the solid waste contract starting in January 2018. Separately from all other award of contracts.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve the agenda as written with the previously mentioned changes. Councilman Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin?
Aye.
Councilman Girl?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilman Turk?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone present that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening? Okay, if you,
You come forward, please, ma'am.
Okay, this is regarding case, it says zoning case number ZC 17033.
can you give us more specifics other than just the number, like the location or what the?
Okay, Joliet Roslyn Street. And what it is this is my brother, this is on his property, and he shares a driveway with two other neighbors. And it's really like the easement of the driveway, and I know they were just cited for not having a permit for putting a pole barn up. The other person has a small farm, my brother has almost 10 acres. So the biggest issue is the driveway and the traffic coming up and down the driveway. There's probably like 10 to 30 cars every day, like where years ago this just didn't happen, and just other issues. So, and then I understand that they are, there was like an issue with 2 permits is from what I understand.
Yeah, I really don't know what you're speaking of. Can you speak after the meeting with our corporation counsel?
Okay.
I think he may be a little bit up to speed on what's going on.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening? Seeing none, next we have council committee reports. Public Service Committee report.
The Public Service Committee met yesterday here at City Hall. On the committee is myself, Councilwoman Gavin, and Councilman Dickinson. And the Public Service Committee meeting, well, the largest item on it was the solid waste, or if you will, garbage collection contract, which I'm not going to go into a long explanation of. We had it yesterday. It's on the agenda to vote tonight. There were some other items that we might go, touch on. Approval of a 2-year contract for the city-wide newsletter. I've been getting very good feedback from the public on that. Everything on the agenda was unanimously voted to be sent with a recommendation for approval to the council. Another thing to point out, and again, these are all on tonight's agenda for the full council, was an approval that we will vote on tonight for a contract for a debt collection service, which may very well bring in several $1 million of money owed to the city. Other than that, there was a lot of the same old with contracts and change orders and things of that nature that we found to be in order. And the entire agenda, all items, did receive a unanimous approval to move forward with a recommendation for approval to the full council. And that's the committee report. Thank you.
Land Use and Legislative Committee report.
Yes, the committee met July 19th here in the council chamber about 4 p.m. The committee comprised of myself, Councilman Dickinson, and Councilwoman Quillman. Also, the mayor was in attendance. Again, somewhat of a lengthy agenda. One of the agenda items was the regulation, put my glasses on, and restrictions for the sale of cats and dogs. And the staff has suggested that we wait on and still pending case in the Cook County, Chicago area. So the committee, and it wasn't a unanimous decision, but we agreed with the staff to wait. We don't have a timetable on that. We don't know if we're going to wait until the case is settled in Cook County or Chicago. But at this point, we wanted to give it a little more time to see how that case comes out of court. Also, we had some discussion concerning the farm stands here in Joliet And again, staff is going to work with some of our local farmers in getting some regulations, requirements together, and that'll be brought back to the committee. We was also given a presentation from one of the engineers for Love's Travel Stop concerning a truck stop that would be located at Briggs and 80s in part of, well, would be annexed into the city of Joliet. So again, that was a presentation, and that'll be going through the proper channels through the city as they are going through the county now. I asked, other than that, I believe it was some ordinance, and I asked Mr. Regis to go over those with you. He'll do it more justice than I will, I'm sure.
Thank you, sir. At the last legislative committee meeting, we discussed 5 potential ordinances, 4 of which appear on the agenda this evening. The first one that I'll mention is a rewrite of Chapter 5 in the Code of Ordinances, which creates a regulatory process for special event permitting. Now, this has been in existence for some time. It codifies what we've been doing for several years, and you saw in the council memo that I prepared, the existing regulatory structure was very outdated. The city was called on to license things like freak shows and public dances and things we simply don't do anymore, and what this does is bring us up to speed. The second thing we had to do was, in the old Chapter 5, there was a regulatory ordinance for coin-operated amusements. Now, we did keep that, but I moved it to 18-47. That puts it in the business license section. We also added in a regulatory program for video gaming at non-liquor establishments, which we discussed last night. And when we did those 2 amendments, we had to update the schedule of fees, which is section 18-20. All we did was add in the new fees that the special event permitting process and the coin-operated and video gaming licensing scheme puts into place. And then ordinance 1921, we discussed amending, at the request of the Joliet Police Department, we discussed amending the weight limitations on certain roadways within the city in order to better protect and preserve our roadways and protect our investments in them. One thing that was discussed that is not ready for the council tonight is an amendment to the, essentially we're creating a table of fines. So there's one place that someone can go in the ordinance to know what somebody may be fined for a certain violation. That's not quite ready for publication yet, so I'm fine-tuning that ordinance. Stay tuned for that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mayor, unless the council committee members have any
All
comment?
good. Thank
All
you.
good?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Just a comment, again, to remind the council, Mr. Regis and Mr. Shanahan have undertaken the task. They are reviewing and rewriting the entire Code of Ordinances, which has been, I don't know how many years since that's been done, 50, 60 years maybe?
Probably never.
Okay, well, good time to start, right? No, great job. It is sorely needed, and real compliments to both of you for doing this.
Thank you.
I show no other reports. Under consent agenda, approval of minutes. It's recommended the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on July 17th and the minutes of the council meeting held on July 18th, 2017 stand approved as recorded. Council Memo 402-17, regular payroll for May 26th through June 8th, 2017, $3,349,797.59. Regular payroll. Council Memo 403-17 is regular payroll for June 9th through June 22nd, 2017, $3,348,028.24. It's recommended said regular payrolls be approved. Council Memo 404-17, receipt of the 2016 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. It's recommended this report be received and placed on file. Council Memo 405-17, request for authorization to negotiate a contract for debt collection services. It's recommended administration be authorized to negotiate a contract with Linebarger, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson for debt collection services. And Council Memo 406-17, position vacancies. It's recommended the city manager be authorized to fill 2 full-time fleet service technician positions in the Administrative Services Department and 1 fleet technician parts specialist in the Administrative Services Department. Is there a motion to approve said consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second?
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving on under ordinances, Council Memo 408-17, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow the redevelopment of an 11-unit apartment building located at 141 East Jefferson Street. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved. Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Krista, if I could say, that's, with all the big development going on, this one's kind of been flying under the radar, but Steve Jones, great job. It's a nice project you have working down there.
We, certainly the first phase of this is, well, actually, the second phase of it's done. We were able to get decent proposals from the private sector. We've been able to get the zoning, and now it's time to get the actual redevelopment agreement finalized. So this will be coming back to the council to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just to clarify too, this is an 11-unit apartment development with commercial on the first floor.
Correct.
I think 3 spaces for commercial, one being a...
Right now, they're looking at 3. Actually, the petitioners are here. I'm sure if there was a significant single commercial user, they would probably amend their plan a bit.
I just wanted to remind people, because this has been an ongoing process, and the mayor took the words out of my mouth. Thank you, you're doing a great job on these. Sometimes people forget about the bunts and look for the home runs.
Thank you.
Next is Council Memo 409-17, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow construction of a gasoline fueling station for trucks and autos, restaurants, gaming, and convenience store located at 2951 Centerpoint Way. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
Mayor?
Yes.
A couple questions. I noticed that it's going to be right on Vetter Road, and there's still many homeowners that live right on Vetter Road, and it's a very small road. Will there be any road improvements to Vetter Road? Because it cannot handle the being 18-wheelers.
Jim Trisna?
Yeah, actually, this development is going to, majority of their access will be off of Centerpoint Way. A portion of Vetter has already been built, about 1,600 feet from Centerpoint Way north, so it'll accommodate this facility. But Vetter Road also going north of there, going north to Schweitzer, that's part of the Humboldt Road extension ultimately.
Right. But so I mean, I'm talking about, and that's not going to be built till after this gasoline station is in there, correct?
No, it will not. You're correct.
Okay. So in the meantime, it's a very small road, as you well know. It cannot handle those 18-wheelers if you've been out there.
Yes.
I'm sure you have many times. What can we do to protect those residents in the meantime?
Well, right now, the 18-wheelers are not allowed in that section of Vetter. There's a weight limit.
I know, but can it be a no right turn and make them turn left? Can we do that?
Oh, coming out of their facility?
Coming out of the facility, can make a left turn only?
Yeah, we could for the short term, yes. Because again, they can't travel north. We could do some signage when they come in, sure.
But they do. Okay, they can't, but they do. They sneak around because I get calls all the time.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, whatever. I'm not sure where those trucks are going north. At this point, there's nowhere to go north to, but we can do that.
They make
and
their
we'll
way.
Work with the police
They make
department.
their own way, Jim.
Sure, okay.
So if we could do that, can make it a left turn only until that road gets built, that would be a tremendous help to the folks that still live there.
Yes, we can do that when they bring it, when they get their site plan, we can make sure that's on there. When
Okay.
they exit, okay?
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve Council Memo 409-17?
So moved.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
I with the understanding that it'll be a left turn only.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 410-17, zoning ordinance amending Article 7, Section 47-17.21, definition of Category 1 political signs, removing language which is precluded by state statute. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Well, I believe all the residents would rather us just outlaw political signs. I'll vote aye.
All of us would too.
Exactly.
Motion
lot
carried.
easier.
Council Memo 411-17 was removed from the agenda. Council Memo 412-17, an ordinance amending Chapter 18-20, Schedule of Fees in the Code of Ordinances. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 413-17, an ordinance creating Section 18-47, coin-operated and amusement devices, video gambling, non-liquor in the Code of Ordinances. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 414-17, an ordinance amending and replacing Chapter 5 in the Code of Ordinances. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 415-17, an ordinance amending Section 19-21, overweight vehicles in the Code of Ordinances. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under resolutions, Council Memo 417-17, a resolution approving the CDBG fiscal year 2017 annual action plan to the 2015 to 2019 consolidated plan. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve.
Excuse me,
Councilwoman.
Mayor.
Yes.
I had asked City Manager interim
Yes, ma'am.
to go over the key points of this contract, just so for people that didn't see it last night, so they'll understand.
The CDBG one or the?
No, the waste management.
We're on CDBG.
We're on the.
I thought we were on.
CDBG. right?
417-17.
I'm ahead of myself. I apologize.
That's okay.
But I did have a question. Did we have it itemized, Marty?
You know what, I just
On
closed.
what projects we're going to
I'm way
be?
ahead.
Yes, hang on.
Way ahead of pages.
I know.
I
I had it pulled up right here.
You're in charge.
These things are too little.
Ready? Community facilities, $219,630. Public improvement streets, $243,217. Housing construction, $220,000. Demolition clearance, $105,000. And then administration planning, snow shoveling program, $100,000.
Okay, I guess my question was, under community, so is Evergreen Terrace in this again this year?
It is not in the 2017 group. It is not.
Okay, thank you.
Should have known.
I remember your question from last year.
Right. Somebody does, at least then.
It was motioned and seconded to approve Council Memo 417-17. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 418-17, a resolution authorizing a CDBG subrecipient agreement with Easter Seals Joliet Region. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 419-17 is a resolution declaring certain City of Joliet property as surplus. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
In motion and seconded to approve, Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 420-17 is a resolution appropriating funds for the Phase 2 engineering services for the Chicago Street reopening project. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
In motion and seconded to approve, Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 421-17 is a resolution approving water service to the Will County Forest Preserve District, Hamel Woods Dog Park, located at 23435 West Black Road in Shorewood.
Mayor?
Yes.
I do have an update on this matter. So we did get correspondence from the village of Shorewood today authorizing the city to allow the connection because it is on their side of the boundary.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
They have water there now, Marty. Are we replacing the water that they have there now, or?
I don't know if they have water now. I think this is a new service line.
Drinking fountain there.
There's a well on the property.
Up in the front, I thought this was going back by the dog park. No?
Okay, this is the far side.
Thank you.
And they are paying for it, so.
It's recommended Council Memo 421-17 be approved.
So moved. Second.
In motion and seconded to approve, Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Abstain.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 422-17 is a resolution amending resolution number 5922 and 6719 and restating the standing committees of the City Council of the City of Joliet. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved. Second.
In motion and seconded to approve, Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Christie, I haven't said that. With the new stadium committee, I think we'll speak after the meeting, but we need to get a meeting called right away with city staff. There's some issues we have to address immediately.
Under bids and contracts, award of contracts, Council Memo 423-17, request for authorization to award the solid waste contract starting in January 2018.
Mayor?
Yes.
I just want to give a quick update again to kind of summarize for those who missed yesterday. So in summary, the committee is recommending a 10-year contract with Waste Management to collect and dispose of household solid waste, recycling, and yard waste. Provide the City of Joliet residents with toters for the garbage and recycling, repair and replace damaged toters, garbage pickup from all the City of Joliet locations, including downtown, Union Station trash receptacles, except tires, white goods, large household items like couches, etc., and provide pickup of dead animals from city right away. And then in addition to that, those are essentially the existing services. The committee is also recommending that we do go to weekly recycling, have what I'm going to call front door pickup of electronics and household hazardous waste from our residents, and also the city wastewater treatment plant refuse collection. So one thing that is different from the last agreement to this agreement is that Waste Management has agreed to submit a community, it's called a community support contribution to the City of Joliet in the amount of $250,000 a year with an increase of 2% after 2022. The community support will be earmarked to downtown Joliet, the stadium and/or the Rialto. They've also agreed to rebate the city an amount of 1% of the monthly payment. Again, remember, the city is paying, so we collect from the residents, so we have the staff that bills out the residents, and then we send out the bills, we collect, and then we just pay Waste Management directly. When the city pays via via check, they'll rebate the city back 1%. So one thing that I do want to touch on, let me give you the rates. So for 2018, it's $21.70. And again, that's what Waste Management is billing the city. 2019, it's $22.25. 2020, it's $22.80. 2021 is $23.37. 2022, $23.95. And then 2023 is $24.55, which is about what we are paying Waste Management today. So what the committee is not recommending is going back into the alleys to resume alley pickup that have been pulled out. So one thing that we kind of looked at with the committee is there's only benefits of, a small amount. So the committee, of course, council also has to recognize that, sometimes the benefit for the small is such a big cost for the entire city. So in this one, it was a $6 million cost to the city before the end of fiscal year 2017, which is actually even before that because it's before the construction season for repaving and tree trimming. So that's one thing that the city kind of looked at as this kind of the small figure for that. So that's the summary.
Questions, comments?
Yes. Just for clarification for the people that might be watching, Marty, you mentioned that if we pay by check, we get the 1% rebate.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with cash, folks. That's a check versus a credit card.
Check, yes.
Right, because then they would pay more for the credit transaction than they would. But, sometimes people think that, well, why do they want to have a check? What if they paid cash?
Well, they would accept cash.
I know they would.
But that was part of our negotiations. I'm not going to bring you a suitcase.
Right. And the other thing I want to point out, this is great. We're going to average less per month over the 10 years than we currently pay. And that was accomplished through the bidding process. And there was even some folks that were against us bidding and wanted to try to negotiate. And any business in negotiation tries to get the most they can. The bidding process takes away that negotiation to where it is truly competitive. We only had 2 bidders, but they're 2 of the biggest giants in the industry, and working against each other, we came up with a slew of more services, including what many people have been screaming for a few years, and that's weekly recycling. And we're going to be paying less on average over 10 years than we currently pay. And I don't know how often you can say that about any service. So, this is exactly why we always need to use a bidding process.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing with the contract, but I guess it might have been some misconception with some people about the alleys. And I know you're saying that it'd be like astronomical to redo them now, but we still will. I know Jim Trisner and Mike Hughes, when they get a call concerning potholes in the alley, they've been real good about going to put gravel in them, or, so we still doing that. We're just not gonna do all the alleys at one time,
Right.
Yes, we would essentially have to turn them into roadways because of the trucks, the garbage trucks. So.
But I was just trying to get the understanding if a resident has an issue with the alley, to call, and it still will be addressed to some degree. Okay.
I do have one more question. Since there's a 10-year contract, in those 10 years with the figures that we have now, are those going to stay the same with no possibility of reopening this contract?
It's locked in.
Waste management, they can't say, oh, we made a mistake, we need more money.
I'm looking at them. No, that's it.
Okay.
I also move, Your Honor.
Yes.
Marty, the at the door are electronics?
Yes.
Are TVs electronics or not electronics?
TVs are electronics, yes.
So would we be moving away from the agreement we have down here with Will County?
That is it's a 1 year, is that a 1 year deal? There you go. So,
Expires February 28th of 2017.
So there'll be a small overlap.
18.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to comment. I mean, the alleys have been an issue. I was a District 2 councilman, so I certainly heard it. Councilwoman Coleman, I know you have too, as well as others. I understand the logic, Marty, that there's not a lot of alleys in the city, and most people would be paying for this. It is a hardship for the people who have them. So personally, I'm disappointed that we can't get that done. But aside from that, this is a tremendous contract, and I think the whole city council and city staff deserves a big pat on the back for standing our ground, and as Councilman Hug said, taking this out to bid. We are paying less and we're getting more in return, and this is, I think, a great example of government working effectively. So kudos to everyone on the council for standing their ground and to staff for negotiating this. And I also want to thank Waste Management. You've been great partners for the city for many years now, and you're stepping up and going to start giving money and a yearly grant to downtown. A lot of it's going to go to Rialto, some will go to the stadium. I think it says a lot about your company, and I hope that the people at the Rialto recognize you like they tend to do the elected officials, some who give money and others who don't. So thank you, and I hope to see you there moving forward. When they have the galas and the events where we're all invited, I hope you guys are also invited there. Yes.
I did have one other question, and it was brought up yesterday by Councilman Quillman, and then we talked in the parking lot about it too, and I have a concern too. So let's be clear on, particularly for what do you call it, not toxic, but what was the types of hazardous waste. How are we protecting syringes, no matter how many few households may have it? I mean, are we gonna have people that are gonna be putting them in a paper bag and putting them on the porch and anybody can come by and grab them?
You know, maybe I'm going to actually we actually talked about this as part of our negotiations, and and defer over to the execs over at Waste Management. They can kind of explain it a little more. So that, I mean, it's not, you're not going to see it. You basically, I'll just pass it over to them.
Yes. If you approach, please.
Thank you. Because it was a legitimate question raised by the council.
And then maybe if you could, Mr. Morley, speak to if you've had any other issues, with regards to that in other communities or.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. So the At Your Door program works a lot like if you've donated clothes or household goods to AMVETS or Purple Heart veterans, the resident will call to activate the service. They'll contact us by phone, by email, or through the website. Once we establish contact with the resident and we determine what they want to dispose of, so it could be a TV, a VCR, and a DVD player, plus they have a couple of cans of paint, and they may have medical syringes. What we'll ask them to do is put the syringes into a rigid container, like a pop container or something where the needle doesn't puncture the bag. This bag is sent to the resident after they've contacted us, and the bag basically contains this heavy-duty plastic bag, and this is where you're going to put your household chemicals and then any needles. Okay, so typically this bag is filled with paint, oil, antifreeze. It could be aerosol cans or aerosol paint cans. We will also accept CFL bulbs, the fluorescent light bulbs, and batteries. So it's a composite of those materials that are put into this bag. The electronics are then placed next to the bag. And as far as the needles are concerned, we have not had, following my presentation in October, we went back to At Your Door. We haven't had any issues with needles being stolen or people trying to extract used needles from a bag that's primarily containing household hazardous waste. If there is an issue, we would certainly work with the police department and try to come up with another solution for needle disposal, but there hasn't been an issue with the communities that we've rolled this out in. Currently, locally, we're doing it in Plainfield, Elwood, Shorewood, Lamont started May 1st, Chicago Ridge, Hickory Hills. None of those communities have had a problem with people trying to steal needles.
Mayor?
Yes.
What's to protect your employees from getting stuck? Because that's just plastic. A needle can go right through that.
And they're asked to not put the loose needles in this bag. They're asked to place their needles in a rigid container, which again could be a pop container. It could be a container that they purchase at the retail level. but we haven't had any issues.
I have to be very honest with you, okay? I've been struggling with this contract for quite some time, ever since your October presentation. And after the committee came up with the tenure and the savings, of course, the alley pickup has been an issue of mine for years. I have to look at the greater good. And at the $6 million savings overall and the rebate and all the pickup, and it's a great contract. Unfortunately, I cannot, as a nurse and medical professional, I cannot go with needles in a plastic bag on the front lawn right next to the garbage cans, because we have a really bad problem here in Will County with drug addiction. And I know what you're saying, you haven't had a problem, but I just don't want us to be the first city to have that issue. And so for that reason, if that stays in, I can't vote for this contract.
Councilman?
Your Honor, we really don't know where these needles are going right now, do we? I mean, they could be going in the black plastic bags people are setting out next to their garbage cans now, which are thinner than thin. And at least this gives us some protection that we don't have now.
Right. This program would ask the residents to segregate the material. We do have an issue with people just throwing needles away.
Right.
Just not putting them in a rigid container. It's especially a problem in our recycling plants, where people put needles into the pop container and then recycle the whole pop container, where somebody is potentially handling it. If it goes in the garbage, there's not as much handling but we have had drivers get stuck by needles, just placed in garbage, or the garbage receptacle. So, this program again is designed to give the residents an easy, convenient place to dispose of. We do not needles. We do not want these kits placed at the curb. We want it placed outside the door or outside of your garage. The curb line is kind of where we want the trash, the recycling, and the yard waste. So it's not going to be at the curb. It shouldn't be at the curb. The instructions are to leave it up by your house.
Okay. Well, I think he just sort of touched on what I was about to say, and I understand my colleague's concern about the needles. But I understood you as well as that those needles are to be placed in a rigid container. To my colleague, I understand, but I think this is a safer way than what we have on the street right now.
But someone that's looking for needles is going to look for that container with the needles in it and pull it out. And they'll be using infected needles. They're desperate. Drug addicts are desperate. And that's my concern also.
And I understand, but I do believe that now we can walk through our park right now and pick up needles by the dozen because they're laying out there. Mm-hmm. But for a resident to have the concern to put those needles in a rigid container, drop them in a bag with paint and whatever else that they're throwing away, I think that this is probably the safer disposal method than just throwing them in the garbage right now and putting everybody at risk, even your workers at risk, the way it is right now. So, I want to thank you again for the contract. I think, and the staff are working on this. This is a good one. This is a good one. Thank you.
Mayor, and I appreciate your. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Point to the right, wrong guy. I appreciate your answer. And what I hear, and I think that's probably the best way to do it, is if it hasn't been a problem in other communities that have the similar or the same program, should it be developing a problem, probably the fire department and more likely the police department at some point, chief would catch wind of that somehow through intelligence, right? And then we'd have to go back and revisit it. If that became a problem, I mean, we're a much larger city than, say, Plainfield or Sherwood. So we have different, considerations. So I think that moving forward, I said yesterday that it's probably some people that just toss it in the regular garbage anyways. I get that. So, that's something we would address, right, Chief? Okay. And then you guys certainly, this is all a contract. The city Waste Management would revisit it if it became a problem, saying maybe we have to remove that from the, if it became that bad. It's not something you would, it wouldn't be a hill to die for at that point as part of the contract. It's more policy, like you said yesterday, than it is anything else on whether or not that would be included. Am I correct?
That would be correct. If there was a major problem, we could remove that from the program. You know, if it became a problem, but we're not anticipating any major issues.
Well, and my other colleague here, Councilwoman Gavin, does make a good point. I've even got it out in my district along in forest preserve type areas. There's a lot of needles out there. Don, probably from the Park District, can tell some stories.
Yeah, there's a lot, and the thing is, like, you know, I know this isn't perfect, having needles go into a plastic bag in there, but I'm sure the guys from Waste Management, I'm sure they wear safety gear as they go around. I mean, everybody knows I'm a blue collar guy. I deal with this stuff all day long. And, you know, we're required to wear safety equipment, you know, and, you know, we run across needles and stuff all the time. It's just a matter of how you handle it. And I understand your concern about people going to the doors and taking the needles. But I mean, realistically, if people want them, they're going to find them anywhere. I mean, they can go to any park, any forest preserve, you know, they can go right along the river here where by the picnic tables and stuff. And they'll find them. I mean, they're out there. They'll find them if that's what they're looking for. They'll find them. But I do believe that this is the best possible scenario right here. I mean, you put them in a rigid container, and then, you know, hopefully people will. Not most people, but hopefully some people will. And, you know, hopefully your guys will be prepared, you know, with safety equipment so that they don't get stuck. I mean, you know, I'd hate to see anybody get hurt, but no, I honestly think this is the best solution. So thank you.
And that's why I appreciate the clarification, because we talked about that last night, Jan. It's not going to be curbside, so that's good news. It's going to be by the door. What's that thing you see on TV with that video camera that you can access anywhere when you're on vacation on your front door? More and more people are getting that because it's affordable. So that's a lot safer than curbside. So that clarification was very important. And I think we've established we live in an imperfect world. And as wonderful as this council may think it is sometimes, we can't legislate perfection. You know, the world's going to be imperfect. So we'll track it and we'll keep an eye on it. We got a great police force that's got even bigger fish to fry, but that's a small component of that, of the opiate epidemic and such. And so I appreciate your clarification. I think that's needed. For me, that helped.
Mayor, so now my other issue with this, I've listened to the colleagues and I appreciate your comments, but we just stated here that this is an ironclad contract and it can't be changed. So if there is a problem, how are we going to change it after we said it's not going to be changed at all? Because once you reopen it, you're setting precedent.
We can, I think by agreement of the parties, we can certainly reopen it.
Remove it.
Make that as an amendment then to this?
I think,
that might even be in there by agreement. Agreement of the parties, I mean, I can't, Waste Management can't say to the city, well, now we're raising your rates. No, we're not agreeing to that. So that's when I say that's what I mean. It's a solid contract, but by, like I said, agreement.
These services are outlined in Exhibit D, so right. we could take a look at that and amend it accordingly. If something, because we consider many of these things recyclable, work within that definition of what's mutually recyclable.
And the other question that I have is this legal? Because I know there's certain standards that medical offices, doctor's office, hospitals have to have a certain standard with hazardous waste. And they have to be in a receptacle that you get rid of what drugs you have left, and on the other side you place your needle and syringe on the other side, and they're locked tight. It's a very hard container. Not that anybody couldn't break into it, but it's to protect people that are collecting these needles at other times and to keep other people from going in there to take the needles. So with those standards set, you're not a medical office or anything, you're, Waste Management. Are there any legal laws that say you can just collect this in regular plastic garbage bags?
Well, again, when the residents are providing these needles, the understanding is that they're empty, spent needles. placed in a rigid container and not just packed in a bag. We don't want medication, we're just taking spent, empty needles.
But legally, you can do that?
Yeah, we can take that as part of this program.
Yes.
Mike, I'd like to thank you and your staff and Waste Management for being as creative and as aggressive financially as you were for the city, and the residents here, I'm sure, are going to appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate the city's continued support and business. We look forward to working with you.
And I thank you for clarifying it. I'm very comfortable. As far as, Jan, as far as agreeing to a change on something as small as that, they just said it for the public record on TV, certainly, if the city wants to revisit it. You know, Waste Management can't, after the contract is approved, say, we're not gonna pick up these needles anymore, but if they say we think there's a problem, and the city says we agree, we can both agree, we'll stop doing it. That's all. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
It's recommended Council Memo 423-17, request for authorization to award the solid waste contract starting in January 2018 be approved.
So moved. Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Turk.
Your Honor, I vote aye, and I'd like to thank the committee, Mike Ulitz, Jim Gadati, Meg McEvely, Chris Regis, and Marty Shanahan for working on this with Waste Management. You know, the bids were opened on May 2nd, and here we're awarding it on August 1st. So I think it's the largest contract that this council awards, and it's probably the most complex. So going through the contract bit by bit is painstaking, probably not as bad as going through this CAFR, but close to it. You know. But I too would like to thank Waste Management for being creative, and I think it's a great contract that's going to serve the citizens of Joliet well. So I vote aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
I just have a few more no, I'm kidding. Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
I do, Larry. How will we notify the residents of this, the people that would need this? How will they know that this is offered to them? You said they can call you, but if they don't know that it's being offered, how will they know? Are you guys going to notify them?
Absolutely. We'll be working with staff over the next couple of months to communicate the changes to the program. So weekly recycling, the At Your Door program, some of the other features of the contract, the expanded customer service hours. We will be working with staff on communicating at various levels on this program. We want people to use it, and so we'll be communicating it citywide.
You know, we also have the city newsletter and the water bills that we can help communicate this on, the changes that are coming, the good changes.
And the website.
And the website.
Having said all that, that was my last concern. And since if it does become a problem, we can amend the contract because it's a 10-year contract and overall it is very good. And I want to thank the committee as well. And I will concede to my colleagues, and I will also vote aye.
Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
You had mentioned, Mike, I'm sorry, I should have said that, the weekly recycle now, not bi-weekly.
Correct. January 1st, it'll be weekly.
The whole contract is great, but that will say, I don't know why I get so confused with what we do, the recycle about. So now I can put it out every week and not.
I look out to see what my neighbor has.
That takes effect January 1st of next year?
Yes.
Okay.
January 1st. And that should give us plenty of time to communicate.
But you know what you guys always do what the neighbor does? What I do in my neighborhood is I put it out in the off week just to see what happens.
So nothing else. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
And
I sincerely appreciate your business.
I do concur, Councilman Turk, Mike Ulitz, and Meg, thank you for the hard work on this.
Yes.
Good job.
Good job, staff.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have the remainder of the award of contracts. Council Memo 424-17, request for authorization to award a contract for the HVAC system control upgrade at the minor league baseball park. Council Memo 425-17, request for authorization to award a contract for the citywide newsletter. Council Memo 426-17, award a contract for snow removal for municipal lots. Council Memo 427-17, purchase firefighter turnout gear. Council Memo 428-17, award a professional engineering services contract for the Phase 2 engineering services for the Chicago Street reopening project. Council Memo 429-17, award a contract for the Garvin Street roadway improvements project, Community Development Block Grant 2017. Council Memo 430-17, award a contract for the Well 12D Rehabilitation Project 2017. Council Memo 431-17, purchase a replacement pump for the Knowlton Avenue Lift Station. Council Memo 432-17, award a contract for the Western Avenue Sanitary Sewer Repairs Project. And Council Memo 433-17, purchase water meters and smart point radios. It's recommended Council Memos 424 through 433-17 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
I just wanted to point out too, on the HVAC system, we had a city budgeted estimate of $75,000 and the bid did come in at $46,400 for the HVAC system at the ballpark. And the staff did a very tremendous job on looking at, we're the landlords, and as much as I squeeze nickels like the manhole covers, we own the buildings. We had a landlord, my wife, some businesses we had years ago. We didn't take care of the heating and the air conditioning. We had some pretty sensitive equipment that was stored as part of our business. But this is just another kudo to the contract we just approved, because starting next year, you're gonna have $250,000 to pay $46,400 for things like this. So that's a great negotiation on the contract for that. That's gonna take this off our plate for 10 years, possibly. So I vote aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried. Amendments, change orders, and payments. Council Memo 435-17, request for authorization to approve change order number 2 and payment request number 2 for the Union Station Plaza improvements 2017. It's recommended Council Memo 435-17 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is the city manager's report.
You know, Mayor, just one thing, you know, after looking at this contract and I just want, you know, I kind of empathize, I guess, with all of council when you have to look at a decision and base it on, you know, the city of a whole as opposed to a few, you know, a benefit of a whole, and you have to weigh things financially and such. And I empathize with all the council members when you have to make decisions like that, so. It's difficult.
Thank you.
Thank
So I
you,
understand.
Thank you for that.
No, you're not getting a raise, Marty.
No.
Thank you, Marty.
Have you hired someone new yet?
Next is new business, not for final action or recommendation.
Don, new business?
No.
Just one question. We were at one time, I just want to know what the status, we were at one time formulating a business directory. Are we still working on that, or do we have that, or?
Yes, we are still working on that and cross-referencing with another data source as we speak.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
Nothing.
Nothing on that.
Well, St. Mary's Church, have we looked at that lately? I mean, it's pretty scary. The steeple about looks like it's gonna fall over.
I think Steve may have some.
We presently have an individual who is the owner of the church who's in the process of proceeding with a redevelopment plan. I believe, and I'm going to look at Kendall, the first building permit was issued for a residential conversion.
Was this the gentleman that had was gonna do the condos in there?
Yeah, there was a cough.
Years
I didn't
ago.
hear that. What was the question?
Is this the gentleman that still owned it that was going to put condos in there a long time ago?
I don't know if it's the same owner, but the current person is talking about multifamily apartment rentals.
Okay.
So in effect, his plan is to start slowly and then work towards full architectural work for the main portion of the church. He has an attorney who's in the process of drafting a redevelopment agreement, and we're awaiting that. There's a lot of planning going on, and I think it's a big undertaking. I mean, it's a tremendous undertaking, and we're hopeful that he knows what he's in for. But he has a background of building on the residential side back through the years before the crash, and you know, we think that he's got the wherewithal, at least from an expertise standpoint, to do this. So stay tuned, I guess, is what I would say.
All right, thank you.
Mike?
Nothing.
I have one item. Marty, I know we talked about this briefly at the last council meeting, about the state budget that was passed and what it's going to cost the city of Joliet. I know Mr. Gadati gave us an estimate 2 weeks ago. Since that time, we've learned of further costs to the city. Specifically, the state is now going to charge us basically a processing fee to return the tax dollars, the sales tax dollars. So I was wondering two things. If at the next council meeting, Jim, if possible, if you could, based upon our budget for 2017, if you could prepare an estimate of what these changes are going to cost the city of Joliet, and then from there, I'd like the finance committee to see what we're going to do. I think the number's somewhere around $2 million is what we're estimating right now. So that's a $2 million hole in our budget that we didn't anticipate. So I'd like the finance committee to look at that and maybe make recommendations, whether we want to amend the budget or go into reserves to pay for this, but it's a cost to us. I think the people of Joliet need to know, because certainly a year from now, when Warmer Rogers prepares a report, and those numbers are going to reflect this, it shouldn't be any sticker shock. People need to know what happened in Springfield is going to cost us money. And then also, Marty, I don't know who would be the one to reach out to, maybe Hugh O'Hara with the Will County Governmental League, but there's a proposal now in Springfield, I think Governor Rauner vetoed it today, regarding school funding. And I have not seen anything in the emails that I get breaking down what this actually means for Joliet schools, or the Plainfield School District, or Lincoln Way, or anywhere where our children are going. Could we try to get someone to come in front of the council and give us real numbers of what, if this bill passes, is it going to help Joliet schools? Is it going to hurt them? What the actual effect will be?
Sure, I did get an update from the Illinois Municipal League today that actually indicated about the veto, but it didn't have any specifics. So I'll see if I can get someone to talk about how it impacts our schools.
Okay, thank you.
Next is public comments. Is there anyone present that would like to speak under public comments?
Mayor, council members, good evening. My name is Jeff Castelli. I live in the Leland Hills subdivision in Shanahan, right off of Route 6 and McClintock Road. And last week, throughout the week, there was a series of 4 explosions that occurred. And Friday, around 3:15 in the afternoon, there was one massive explosion. And the shock wave that came with that explosion was strong enough to possibly break windows and or do structural damage to homes. And my home and the surrounding neighbors' homes actually shook. That's how big it was. So I called our 911 operator. I explained to her the situation, what happened. She had no idea what was going on. She said that would be Joliet's jurisdiction. She transferred me to the 911 down here. I explained to her what happened, and I said it sounded like it came from the construction site where the intermodal is going on at the end of Humboldt, Hollywood Boulevard, and Route 6. And she said that she would send a cruiser out there to see if they could find anything that possibly went on. So in the meantime, I called up the land use department, talked to a lady, and they didn't have any idea. And she says, well, that would be Joliet's area. So she referred me to the inspector's number. And it was about 3:45, so it was late in the day. I left a message on his voice recorder, brief message, give my name and phone number, and then I called evidently that office number with the same information, and I have yet to hear back from them. So my question to you guys is, do you know of any explosive blasts that were used last week, and were they used at any of those construction sites? And it could have also came from the quarry, the gravel quarry on Laramie Road. And if they came from there, is it possible that something could be put in the Herald News, and I know everybody doesn't get the paper, of dates that when these are going to happen, and also or coordinate with the local police departments? You know, that would be Elwood, possibly New Lenox, Shanahan, just the city here, and I would even go as far as Joliet to let them know what's going on. And what was the last thing I was going to say? Oh yes, and And instead of having a one massive explosion, is it possible that if it did come from those construction sites, to reevaluate the permit to see if they can't use a number of smaller blasts instead of one massive one? Because it was really bad.
Mike or Jim, do you know anything about this? Jim Trisna? Marty?
No, this is the first I heard of it.
Chief Ben?
It was pretty bad. And, you know,
You have to step up to the microphone, sir.
It was pretty bad. Years ago, when Union Oil blew up, I lived on the east side of Joliet, and I know the conditions have to be just right to get the effect of that explosion. But it actually, I was out in the garage working that day, and it shook my garage so bad. It was an older garage. It knocked all the dust off the rafters in the garage. And my wife was starting to cook supper that night on the grill, and I thought she actually blew up the grill. So I know how sound waves can transfer. The 14 years that we've lived there, we've never experienced anything like that before. So
What day was it?
Chief Ben?
there was, the beginning of the week, there was 3 of them, and then Friday was that massive one that took place.
Mayor, I could check our calls for service for that day around that time and see if the officers were able to locate anything. I'm sure they were sent out if you called. I can report back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Next is mayor and council comments.
I'd just like to say thanks to Jim Trisna and his guys for repairing the fence along Hickory Creek. You know, somebody had knocked the fence over by Hickory Creek, and there was a nice little gap there where, you know, children could fall through. And you know, I brought it to their attention, and as soon as I brought it to their attention, they moved on it right away. And this week it was finished, complete, and it looks great. And also, I'd like to say thanks to Mike Ulitz and his guys. I've had several people talk to me about trees in their parkway, and they're right on it. So I really appreciate all the help you guys have given me as I've stepped on the council here, and I'd appreciate it if you'd pass it along to your guys that I appreciate all the hard work that they do. Thank you.
Yes, I got a couple of things. First, Mr. Godotti, thank you and your staff for the excellent work that you have done and presented us in this financial report. We want to thank you for that. Also, Chief Benton, thank you and the guys at another year of an excellent PAC camp. PAC camp is growing. This year we had more children, and we had a great interaction. For those that don't know, PAC camp stands for Police and Children Together. And it has been for the last 5 years. It has been an excellent piece going on. And so thank the guys who turn in, my NOPT officers that turn in to be camp counselors. They're hanging in there really well, Chief.
I think
so
they
please,
have more fun than the kids council, but I will.
I know. Next time, if they go to medieval times, I'm going. Okay. And then I want to also thank the our neighboring city, ShareFest organization out of New Lenox, for their awesome partnership with sending kids to the tech camp at Joliet Junior College. They raised all of the funds, and kids were able to go to the robotics and mechanics camp there. So I certainly want to send a shout out to Gary Cheney and the ShareFest organization. And last but not least, we're having our back to school jamboree Saturday, August the 5th at the Forest Park on Cutter Avenue. It is Forest Park, big, beautiful park there owned by the Park District. And so at noontime, we will be celebrating our youth and providing them with back to school supplies. Want to make sure they got all the tools and resources that they need going back to school. Thank you, man.
Just personally give condolences to the family of Sean Carroll, the firefighter who passed away Saturday afternoon. His wife Christy, his 2 daughters, their family, their friends. Condolences from myself and my family to their family as well, I'm sure, from the council. And on another note, Joe, you didn't get away. Our hidden security guy, Joe Clement, Officer Clement, it's his birthday today. So we all want to say happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
You've learned a lot over 74 years, haven't you, Joe? Come on, let's get, we get him on TV. There we go. That's what I wanted. Happy birthday, Joe.
Happy birthday, Joe.
That's all I have.
Okay, very quickly. I guess Steve Jones went to see Hamilton and he brought me the playbill and there's a big ad in here. It says, "See you in J-Town." So people in downtown Chicago saw this and they know about us and showed them the Blues Brothers and everything that we have to offer here. And then also along those lines, Larry, it's Pauline Ames' 30th wedding anniversary tonight and she showed up.
Happy
So her husband's
anniversary.
waiting for her out with champagne at home. Congratulations.
You got married at 3?
Mike, I got a couple things. Number one, congratulations and thank you to Scott Paddock and the Chicagoland Speedway. 2 Saturdays ago, they hosted the 5-0 at the Dirty O. It was a race on the dirt track with police officers from all different agencies. They did it in conjunction with the Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics. Sergeant Lindsey Hebner from our police department competed, and he was doing really well. Somehow he lost control of the car on the straightaway. But I understand they raised over $80,000 for Special Olympics. It was a really fun event. So thank you to Sergeant Hebner and all the police agencies who went out there and raced, and congratulations again to Scott Paddock. Number two, I want to thank, it's been all over the papers and the news, but I do want to thank John Crane and Hawk Motors and our Joliet Park District with Tom Karstens leading the charge for cutting the deal to buy the property at Route 59 and Caden Farm Road. They're staying inside the city of Joliet. I want to thank staff members, Chris Regis, Marty Shanahan, Steve Jones. We've been working hard for the last month to make this happen, and we continue to work with them. But thank you to everybody involved. Again, that was different sectors of government coming together, working together. So I'm glad that that worked out. And then finally, Joe is not the only notable person who has a birthday today. My secretary, Angie Harris, delivered a healthy baby girl today. She's the wife of Joliet Fireman Jason Harris. So congratulations to both of them. And Joe, you got a birthday partner moving forward. That's all I have.
And Mayor, there is one other person over here whose birthday was yesterday. Yes, you. Steve Jones, 39.
39 again.
Happy birthday, Steve.
All right, with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.